Nagas, Kindras, and the guardian of the eight quarters, folk to the tribute on that occasion. Sri Rama made obeisance to them all, and the gods were glad to obtain the reward of their eyes. Raining flowers, the heavenly host exclaimed, Lord, we feel secure today. With great supplication, they disguised their terrible woes and returned joyfully to their several abodes. Hermits streamed in as they heard the news of the Sri Rama, the writer of the Raghu, had taken up his abode at Chitrakuta. The moon of the solar rays felt protest when he saw the holy company coming with cheerful countess. The hermit pressed Sri Rama, to, the chief of the Raghuline, to their bosoms and invoked their blessings on him just in order to see them come true. As they gazed on the beauty of Sita, Lakshmana, Sumandra Sen and the Rama, they accounted all their spiritual practice fully rewarded. After paying them due honors, the Lord dismissed the holy throng and they practiced yoga, contemplation, japa, muttering of prayers and austerities and performed sacrifice unmolested in their own retreat. Sri Ramayana. When the Kolas and Vilas got this news, they felt as delighted as though the nine heavenly treasures of Kubera had found their ways to their own house. With cups of leaves full of bulbs, roots, and fruits, they sailed forth as pauper to gather gold as the spoils. Such of them had already seen the two brothers were cautioned about them by other who proceeded along the same road, describing and hearing the Sri Rama's beauty. They all came and beheld the Lord of the Raghu, placing their offering before the Lord. They greeted him and regarded him with deep affection. They stood here and there, and so many painted figures thrilling all over, and with tears streaming from their eyes, Sri Rama perceived that they were all overwhelmed with emotion and addressing kind words to them, treating them all with honors, while they in their turns greeted the Lord again and again, and with joined palms spoke to him in polite terms. Having seen your feet, O Lord, we all feel secure now. Our good luck is responsible for your visit to this place, O Lord of Ayodhya. Blessed is the land, forest, path, and hill where you have planted your food, my Lord. Fortunate are the birds and the beasts of the forest whose life has been crowned by your sides. And lucky are we all along with your family is that we have been able to feast our eyes on your beauty. You have chosen an excellent spot whereon to take up your abode. You will be comfortable here during all the seasons. You will render all sort of services to you, keeping away elephants and the lions, serpents and the tigers. The dreary forest, hills, caves, and the ravines here have all been explored by us foot by foot, O Lord. We will take you for hunting to the different haunt of the game and will show you lakes and the springs and other reservoir of water. We and our people are your servants, therefore do not hesitate to command us, O Lord. The same gracious Lord, whose Vedic text failed to describe, and the mind of the hermit cannot reach, listen to the words of the Bhilas, even as a father listens to the words of his children. Love alone attracts Sri Rama. Let those who are curious take note of it. Sri Rama gratified all the foresters by addressing to them gentle words written by love. Dismissed by him, they bowed their head to him and departed, and discussing the virtues of the Lord, they returned to their respective homes. In this way, Sita and the two brothers lived in the forest, delighting the god of the hermits. Ever since the Lord of Raghu came and took up his abode, there the forest became a fountain of blessing. Trees of the various kinds blossoms and bore fruits, and lovely creepers that quite about them formed an excellent canopy. They were all naturally beautiful like the trees of the heaven. It seemed as if the latter had abandoned the celestial groves and migrated to the spots. String of the bees made an exceedingly sweet humming sounds and delightful breeze, breathing soft, cool, and fragrant. The blue jay, cuckoo, parrots, chatka, chakravaka, chakoras, and other birds delighted the ears and ravaged the soul with their varied notes. Elephants, lions, monkeys, boars, and deers all sported together free from enmity. Herds of the deers were enraptured when they beheld the beauty of Sri Rama roaming about in the search of prey. All the foresters of God existing in the universe were filled with envy at the sight of the Sri Rama's forest. The heavenly river Ganga, Saraswati, the sun-born Yamuna, Narmada, the daughter of the Mount Makela, the blessed Godavari, and the various other lakes, seas, streams, and rivers all extol the Mandakini. The eastern and western hills, lakes, seas, streams and rivers all extol the Mandakini. The eastern and the western hills from and behind which the sun is believed to emerge and disappear every morning and evening. Mount Kailash, the abode of Lord Shiva, Mandira, Meru, all abode of gods in the mountains like Himalayas, all sing praises of Chitrakuta. Great was the deity presiding over the Vindhya range, whose delight was more than his heart could contain. To think that he had won such great renown without much exertion. Blessed and full of merit are all the birds and the deer, creepers, trees, and the various species of herbage of the Chitrakoot. So declared the god day and night. Having beheld the chief of Raghuline, those who had attained the end of the life and were rid of sorrow, whereas inanimated objects rejoiced at the touch of the very dust of his feet and become eligible for attaining the highest stage blessedness. The forest and hill where that ocean of the ShriRam took up his abode were naturally lovely, auspicious and holiest of the holy. How could it be possible to glorify them? The exquisite beauty of the forest where Sita, Lakshmana and the ShriRama came and settled, taking leave of the ocean of the milk and bidding adieu to Ayodhya. Taking leave the ocean of the milk and bidding adieu to Ayodhya, Sri Ramayana, could not be described even by the 100,000 Shesha, such with 1,000 pairs of the tongues. How then can I describe it some length by more than a tortoise head leaving the puddle can lift Mount Mandara? Lakshmana built upon Sri Rama's in thoughts, words and deeds, and an amiability and devotion more than one could tell. Waited upon Sri Ramayana, Sri Ramayana, Sri Ramayana, Sri Ramayana. Waited means stay where one to declare action until a particular time, or stay where one is or delay in action. Waited upon Sri Rama from the gazing on the feet of Sita and Rama every moment, and the conspicuous of their love for him. Lakshmana never recalled even in dream his younger brother Shatrugna, father, mother, or even his home. In Sri Rama's company, Sita lived a happy life, forgetting her town, Ayodhya, family and home. Ever watching the moonlight face of her beloved lord, she was extremely glad, like young of the Chakora birds. Finding her lord's affection grew from day to day, she remained happy as the Chakravaka birds. During the day, her mind was so enamored of Sri Rama's feet that a forest appeared to her as dear as thousands Ayodhyas. Dear was the hut of leaves in the company of her most beloved lord, while fawn and the birds constitutes her beloved family. The holy hermits appeared to her as if her own father-in-law and their spouse as her mother-in-law, while her diet consisting of bulbs, roots and fruit tasted like ambrosia. Shared with her spouse, even the lovely litter of leaves delighted her as a hundredth of the Cupid one's bed. Can a charm of the senses enjoy it, even enchant her, whose very look confers the sovereignty of his sphere? Fixing their thought on Sri Rama, his devotees spun in pleasure of senses, worth no more than a piece of straw. It is no wonder then, in the case of Sita, Sri Rama's beloved consort and the mother of the universe, the Lord of Raghu would do and say only that which would please the Sita and the Lakshmana. He would narrate old legends and a story to which the Lakshmana and Sita would listen with great delight. Every time Sri Rama thought of the Ayodhya, his eyes filled with tears. The gracious Lord becomes sad there when he recalled his father and mother, his family and the brothers, and particularly the affection, humility and devotion of the Bharata. But he recovered himself when he realized that the time was unpropitious. Perceiving this, Sita and the Lakshmana felt distress, even as the shadow of the man behaved just like him. When he saw the condition of his beloved consort, his brother Lakshmana, the self-possessed and the compassionate Rama, the delight of Raghu and the soother of his devotees, his heart began to narrate some sacred legend. Hearing with Lakshmana and the Sita felt relieved. Accompanied by Lakshmana and Sita, Sri Rama shone in his hut of the leaves, even as Indra, who dwells in Amravati with his spouse Sachi and his sons Jayanta. The Lord looked after Sita and Lakshmana in the same way as the eyelid protect the eyeball, while Lakshmana in his turn waited upon Sita and the Sri Rama, the hero of the Raghu race. Just as a fool who identified himself with his body trained his own body in this way, the Lord, who was as friendly as to birds and the fawn as to the gods and ascetics, lived happily in the forest. Thus have I told the delightful story of Sri Rama's journey to the woods. Now hear how Sumantra reached Ayodhya. When the Nishada chief returned after escorting the Lord, he saw the minister Sumantra with the carrot. The minister was distressed to see the Nishada chief, but failed to describe the agony which he felt at the moment. Crying out, Rama, Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, he, Sumantra, dropped on the ground, utterly helpless, while the horse kept looking on the south and neighed. They were as restless as a bird shorn on of their wings. They would neither eat grass nor drink water, while their eyes keep shedding tears. The whole party of the Nishada was distressed to see the horse of the Sri Rama, the chief of the Raghu line, Then recovering himself, the Nishad chief Sumantra ceased sorrowing. Now you are the man of wisdom and knower of the highest truth. Therefore, compose yourself, realizing that the fate is unpropitious to narrating various legends in the soft accents. He took him like a force and seated him in the carrot. But overpowered by grief, he could not drive the carrot. The agony of separation from Rama, the chief of Raghuline, was severe as the horse would not move along the road. They were getting fidgeted. It seems as the wild animal has been caught and put in harness. They would topple down and turn to look behind, torn away from the Rama and smarting with deep anguish. If anyone mentioned the name of the Rama, Lakshmana, Sita, Janka's daughter, they would start neighing and regard him with love. How could anyone describe the anguish of the separation from the horse where they were all restless as a snake robbed of its gems? Shada was overcome with grief and he had beheld the ministers and his horse. He then called up four trusted grooms and sent them with the character Sumantra. Seeing of the character Guha returned, the agony of his separation was too deep for the words, and the Nishada drove of the Ayodhya flung in sorrow every moment. Agitated and stricken with grief, Sumantra lament, accused is the life without the hero of the race. The rash body will not survive in the long run, but what a pity it did not earn fame by perishing at the same time of it parting from the hero of the Raghu. The life has become sink of infamy and sin. I wonder what prevents it from the departing, as this wise soul has missed its chance. Oh, that my heart does not break in twine even now. Wringing his hand and beating his head, he rued his lot like a miser who has lost his hoards of riches. It seems as if after assuming the role of and posing as a eminent hero, a great warrior had taken to flight. The minister gave himself up to a grief like a discreet Brahmins of the noble descent who throw well versed in the Vedas, is esteemed by the virtuous, has been deluded into drinking. The minister fat in his heart agony as terrible as that of the virtuous and discreet lady of the high birth who is devoted to her lord in thoughts, words, and deed, and who is compelled by evil destiny to live apart from her husband. His eyes were full of tears and lagging in visions. His ears deep and his mind was agitated and confused. Nay, his lips were getting dry and tongue had claved on to the palate. Yet his life breath did not depart. The term of the exile serving as a door of the to prevent its departure from his heart. He had turned pale and repealed the sigh at if he had murdered his own father and mother. Great was the despondency which preyed upon his mind as a result of a loss he had just suffered. He looked like a sinner mourning while on his way to the abode of the dead. What failed him, and he lamented with himself, what shall I see on reaching Ayodhya? Whosoever shall find the carrot devoid of the Rama with will shun my sight. When the agitated citizen reigned to make inquire of me, I shall answer them all with heavy loads on my heart. And all the helpless and afflicted mother cautioned me, good God, what shall I say to them? When Lakshmana's mother Sumantra put caution to me, what glad tidings shall I convey to her? And when Rama's mother Kaushalya come running like a cow that has recently born a calf and had her thought fixed on it, the only answer it can make her queries will be Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita have left for the woods. Whosoever caution me must be answered. This is the treat I shall have on reaching Ayodhya. Again, when the king who is oppressed by the grief and whose life hang on the Rama put cautions to me, with what face shall I tell him in reply that having safely escorted the princess, I have come back. The moment he hears the news of the Lakshmana, Sita and Rama, and king will drop his body like a piece of straw. The swampy ground of my heart like a swamu ground did not crack even though the moisture in the shape of my most beloved Rama has left. From this I concluded that in this very frame God has endowed me with a body fit for suffering the torture of hell. While Sumantra was thus laminating on the way, his carrot presently reached the bank of the Tamsa river. He politely dismissed the Nishada who fell at his feet and returned with a heart stricken with grief. The minister hesitated to enter the city as if he had murdered his own preceptor, killed a Brahman, or butchered a cow. He passed the day sitting under a tree and found his opportunity only when it was dusk. He entered Ayodhya in the dark and slunk into the palace, leaving the carrot at the gate. All who heard the news flocked to the entrance of the royal palace to see the carrot. When they recognized the carrot and found the horse restless with their body wasting away as hail in the sun, the citizen mourned. Both man and the woman were so distressed as fish when the water runs short. The moment they heard the minister's arrival, the whole Gainicum was restless to him. The palace looked as dreadly as though it were a abode of spirit. In deep agony, all the queen cautioned him, but no reply came from him. His voice failed him, his ears could not hear, nor could his eyes see. He asked whosoever he met, tell me, where is the king? Seeing his confusion, the maidservant conducted him to the Kaushalya's apartment. Arriving there, Sumantra found the king as pale, as lustreless as the moon without nectar, without a seat, couch, or ornament. He lay on the ground in the most wretched condition, having a sigh he lamented even as Yayati when he had fallen from the abode of God, with his heart bursting with grief. Every moment he looked like Sampati who had dropped from the heaven on account of his wings having been signed. That great love of the Rama cried, Rama Rama, and again Rama Lakshmana and Sita. The minister on seeing the king exclaimed, salutatory word Jaya Jiva, and made obeisance to him by filing protest on the ground. The moment he heard this, the king rose in bewilderment and said, tell me, Sumantra, where is Rama? The king pressed Sumantra to his bosom as if he, a drawing man, had laid hold of some support. Seating him affectionately by his side and with his eyes full of tears, the king asked him, appraise me, O Rama's welfare, O loving friend. Where are Rama, the lord of Lakshmana, and Vidya's daughter Sita? Have you brought them back, or have they left for the woods? At these words, tears rushed to the minister's eyes. Overwhelmed with grief, the king asked again, tell me the news about the Rama, Lakshmana, and the Sita, Rama and the Lakshmana. Recalling again and again Sri Rama's beauty, virtue, amiability, and the temperament, the king sorrowed within himself. Proclaiming my intention to install him as a regent, I exiled him to the wood. But the news neither delighted the soul nor grieved it. But my life did not depart, even though I had to part from such a son who can be such a great sinner as I. Take me, my friend, to the place where Rama, Sita, and the Lakshmana are. If not, I sincerely tell you, my life is going to depart very soon. Again and again the king asked the minister, communicate to me the news of my most beloved son. Quickly contrive, my friend, some means whereby you may be able to bring before my eyes Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita. Recovering himself, the minister gently replied, my majesty is learned and wise. You are the leader of the brave and the courageous, my lord, and have always attended assemblies of the holy man, birth and the death, all painful, and the pleasure of experience, loss and gain, union with and separation from the friends. All these, my lord, take place under the unalterable law of time and destiny, like the succession of night and day. Who rejoice in prosperity and mourn in adversity, while the wise account both alike. Therefore, exercising your mature judgment, take up courage and cease sorrowing, O friends of all. Their first halt was made by the side of the Tamsa and the next of the bank of the Kalesti river Ganga. Having bathed and drunk water, Sita and the two brothers remained without food that day. The Nishada shown great hospitality, and the party spent that night in the village of Singararua, Shrivangapura. At daybreak, they sent for the milk of banyan tree, and the two brothers coiled up their matted hair in the shape of the crown. Then Rama, friend Goha, carved boats, and after helping Sita in boarded, Sri Rama followed suit. Lakshmana praised of it and over orderly way the two bows and the queers, and himself boarded the boat on receiving the Lord's command. Seeing my distress, the hero of the Raghure's command of courage and addressed me in the sweetest and sire, convey my obeisance to their fathers and clasping lotus feet again and again, and falling his feet submit to him. Thus, Father, be not worried on my account. By your grace and the goodwill, and as a reward of your meritorious acts, my journey to the sojourn in the woods will be the happy and full of blessings. By your grace, dear Father, I shall have all sort of comforts on my journey, and having obeyed your command, shall come back, shall safe to behold your lotus feet once more. May consoling all my mothers fall in their feet again and again, and the profuse entities make every effort says to see that the Lord of Ayodhya may Father pass his days happily. My father passed his day happily, clasping my preceptor's lotus feet again and again. Give him my message. Pray, so exhort the Lord of Ayodhya that he may no longer grieve on my account. Pray, so exhort the Lord of Ayodhya, ShriRam. Humbly approaching the citizens, all my people, convey to them my submission. He alone is my friend in every way, who ensures the king happiness again. When Bharata comes, give him my message. Abandon not the path of the restitutes, or resuming the office of the regent. Cherish your subjects in thoughts, words, and deed, and serve your mothers, treating them all alike. Again, brother, vindicate your brotherliness till the last day by the serving your parents and the kinsmen. As last but not the least, look after the king in such a way that he may never sorrow on my account. Here Lakshmana interposed some harsh words, but Rama checked him and then entreated me, adjured me by himself again and again, make no mention, dear father, of Lakshmana's childishness. Sending her greeting, Sita opened her lips to say something, but was overwhelmed with emotion. Her voice failed, her eyes filled with tears, and the thrill ran through her body at the moment. In response to the hint from the chief of the Raghu Rama, the boatsman propelled the boats towards the opposite bank. So depart the crown of the Raghu race, while I stood looking on with a heavy load on my heart. How am I to describe my Shri Rama? Describe my own anguish in that I came back alive bearing Rama's message. At this stage, Sumantra's speech failed him, overpowered as he was by grief and remorse due to the separation from Sri Rama. No sooner had he heard the character's speech than the king dropped on the ground, his heart burning with deep anguish, his mind being unhinged by the excessive infatuation. He tossed about like a fish that had been inebriated by suckling the foam of early rainwater with the intoxicating to the fish. All the queens wailed and wept. How can their great misfortune be described? At the sound of their wails, sorrow itself was sorrowful, and endurance could no longer endure. Either was the great tomland and the sound of the outcry of the royal gynaecum. It seemed as if a cruel thunderbolt had fallen at the night on the large habitants of birds. The life breath of the king had now stuck in the throat. He felt uneasy like a serpent robbed of its gems. All the senses were blighted as a cluster of the lotuses in the lake that had been left without water. When Kaushila saw the king withered and the blasted, she concluded in her mind that the son of the solar race was about to set summoning up courage. Therefore, Sri Rama's mother spoke words appropriate to the occasion. Ponder in your heart, my lord, and reflect that separation from Rama is a vast ocean. You are the helmsman in Ayodhya, the bark which has been boarded by our near and dear ones as its passenger. We can hope to reach the shore only if you have patience. If not, the whole family will be drawn. If you take to the heart their entity of mine, my beloved Lord, we are sure to see Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita again. Hearing these short words of his beloved queen, the king opened his eyes and looked upon like a withering rash fish that has been sprinkled with cold water. Recovering himself, the king got up and sat down. Tell me, Sumantra, where is my gracious Rama? Where is Lakshman? Where is my loving Rama? Where is my beloved daughter-in-law Videhi? The restless moonlight wailed in many ways. The night seemed to him like an age and felt as though it would never end. He remained on the blind hermit's curse, and he narrated the whole story. Kaushal that he was filled with agony as he related the circumstances. If I in the hope of the surviving without Rama, what shall I gain? Be preserving this body which has failed to keep my vow of love. O delighter of Raghu, who was dear to me as life, already I have lived too long without you. The Janka's daughter and Lakshmana, a chief of the Raghu line, who gladdened the loving heart of your father as a rain cloud delights the Chatka birds. Crying Rama, Rama, and Rama, and again Rama, Rama, Rama. The king cast off his body in his agony of the separation from chief of Raghu line and ascends to the abode of God. It was King Dasharatha who reaped the reward both of his life and death. His untarnished fame spread through a number of universe. As long as lived, he gazed on the Sri Rama's moonlight countenance and brought glory to his death by making the separation of Sri Rama his excuse for it. Stricken with grief, all the queen wept and praised his comeliness of the form, amiable manner, bodily might, and majesty. They lamented in varieties of ways, throwing themselves upon the ground again and again. Men servant alike wailed in anguish, and there was a weeping in every house throughout the city. Today has said the son of the solar race, the perfection of the rightness, the repository of the beauty and virtue. Everyone abuses Kaki, who had robbed the world of its very eyes. In this way, the veiled till the close of night, when all the great and enlightened hermits arrived. Then the sage Vashishta narrated a number of legends befitting the occasion and dispersed the gloom that hung over them all by the light of his wisdom. The sage caused a boat to be filled with oil and had the king's body placed in it to guard against decomposition. He then summoned envoys and spoke to them thus: Run quickly and go to the Bharata, but break not the news about the king to anyone at any place. Approaching Bharata, tell him only this much: the preceptor has sent for you. Two brothers, hearing the sage's orders, the courier rushed along with a speed that would put his excellent steed to the shame. Even since things began to take a vicious turns in Ayodhya, evil omens occurred before Bharata. He saw fearful dreams at night, and on walking, indulged in all sort of the unpleasant speculation. He would perform consecration water over Bhagwan Shiva in the various ways, invoking the great Lord in his heart, backed of him the welfare of his parents, family, and the half-brother Sri Rama. While Bharata was thus passing an anxious times, the courier arrived, and hearing the Guru's commands, he proceeded with an invocation of the Lord Ganesha, urging the horses to run as fast as when he went on his journey, crossing difficult streams in the forest. There was such a great anxiety in his heart that nothing would please him. He threw to himself would that I could fly home. Every moment hung heavier like a year. In this way, Bharta drew near to the city. Evil omens occurs to him as the entrance of the city, grown conned in the ominous ways at undesirable places. Duncan Jekyll gave a cry that foreboded evils and which pierced Bhartaj to the heart as he listened to it. Lakes and the rivers, groves and the gardens had lost their charms, while the city wore a particularly dismal look. Birds and the fawns, horse and the elephants were too rash to look at. Undone by the fell disease of the separation from the people of the city, both men and women were extremely miserable, as though all of them had lost everything they had in their possession. The citizen made him by the spokes, not to the words, but made obeisance quietly passed on. Bharta too could not inquire about after their welfare, his mind being obsessed with fears and grief. The bazaars industry repeat the sight as though a wide conflagration had broken out the city of all sight. Keke, who was the solar rays, what the moon is to the lotus, was rejoiced to hear of her son's approach, preparing lights for waving round his head. She sprang up and ran glad at heart, and meeting him at the very door, conducted him into her apartment. Bharta saw with wonders that while the households wore a raised appearance like beds of lotuses blasted by forest, Keke was as happy as a Bhila woman who had set a whole forest ablaze. Seeing her son melancholy and depressed in spirit, she asked him, "Is all well in my mother's house?" Bhartas assured her that everything was well, and then inquired after the health and the welfare of his own family. "Tell me, where is my father's and where all mothers, and where is Sita and my beloved brother Shrirama and Lakshmana?" Hearing her son's affectionate words, the sinful woman brought crocodile tears in her eyes and spoke words that pierced his ears and soul as so many shafts. I have accomplished everything for you, my son, and poor Mantra has been of the great help for me. Only God has muttered our plan a little before they could be completed. The king has departed to the Indus paradise. As soon as he heard this, Bhartas was overcome with grief as an elephant who is terrified as a roar of the lion, crying, "Father, fire, my father!" He fell to the ground much agitated. It could not see you before you left. Nor did you, my father, trust to the care of Sri Rama. Then collecting himself, he got up with some efforts and said, "Tell me, mother, the cause of my father's dismiss." Hearing the words of her son, she replied as one who had cut a vital part and inserted poison into it. With a glad heart, the cruel and the wicked woman recounted from the very beginning all that she had done. Hearing of the Sri Rama's exile to the forest, Bharta forgot his father's death and realizing in his heart that he was as a root of it if he remained mute and stupefied. Observing his son's distress, she comforted him like one who applied salt to a burn. "The king, my son, is not fit for lamentation. He not only reaped a rich harvest of merits and renown, but enjoyed life also. During his lifetime, he obtained all the rewards of the human existence. In the end, ascends to the abode of the Indra, the lord of immortals. Pondering thus, he is sorrowing and ruled the kingdom with all its limbs, such as the army, the exchequers, the ministers, and so on." The prince was utterly dismayed to hear these poor words, as though a feasting sword has been touched by the live coal. Recovering himself, he heaved a deep sigh and said, "O big woman, you have brought complete ruin to our family. If you bore such deep malice, why did you not kill me as soon as I was born? Cutting down the tree, you have watered a leaf, and you have drained the pond for keeping the fish alive. Claiming my descent from the sun god and the king Dasharatha for my father, and Rama and Lakshmana for my brother, I have had your mother for my mother. One is a powerless against the providence. The moment of the malicious woman you conceived the evil design in your mind, how is it your heart did not break into the pieces? While asking for the boon, did not your conscience pinch you? Conscience, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana. Conscience pinch you. Your tongue did your tongue did your tongue did faster, nor did your mouth become free of maggot. Sense, moral incurable. Now, how did the king trust you? Surely, God must have robbed him of his sense on the evening of his death. Even the Creator has not been able to know the working of the woman's heart, the repository of deceits in a wise, simple, amiable, and pious as the king was. How could he know the nature of the woman? What living creature in this world to whom the Lord of Love is not dear as life itself? Yet even that Rama appeared to you as a great enemy. Tell me the truth, therefore, to what species do you belong? Whatever you may be, you had better bid up your face within, and leaving by presence remove to the some place out of my sight. Nay, God has created me out of one Keke hostile to Rama, who is there so sinful as myself. In vain, therefore, do I taunt you. When Shatrugna heard the mother Kaikeyi witness, he burns all over with rage, but there was no help. That very moment came the humpback Mandara clad in the variety of rich costume and adorned with various ornaments. The very sight of that woman filled Lakshmana's younger brother with anger as throat clarified but her head been poured into the fire. Springing toward forward, he kicked her with such steady aim at the hump that she fell flat on her face and thus screamed aloud. Her hump was smashed, her head split, and the teeth broken, and the mouth emitted blood. Oh my God, what harm I have done? Surely this is an ill recompense of my service. Hearing this and seeing her wild from head to foot, Shatrugna, the slayer of the foe, seized her by the hair on the head and began to drag her till the merciful Bharata refused her. The two brothers then called on the mother Kaushalya. I sordid attire, pale, agitated, oppressed with woes, and with a wasted frame, she looked like a lovely calico keeper of the gold blasted by the frost of the forest in the forest. When Mother Kaushalya saw Bharata, she sprang up and ran to meet him, but she felt giddy and dropped unconscious on the ground. Bharata was deeply moved to see her plight and threw himself at her feet, forgetting the condition of his own body. Mother, show me my father, where Sita and two brothers, ShriRam and Lakshmana. Why was Kaikeyi born into the world at all? And if born, why did she not remain barren instead of bearing me, a plot of my family, a very sin of infamy, and the enemy of the near and the dear ones? Who is in this tree felt so right as I, or on whom account, mother, you have been reduced to such a plight? Sri Ramayana. My father is in heaven, Sri Ramayana, the chief of the line is in the wood. It is the who, like a shooting star, am responsible for the whole trouble. Woe to me, who have proven to be for my family, who have proved. Woe be to me, who have proved to be for my family a very fire among the bamboos and the victim of terrible agony, suffering and censure. On hearing Bhashi Ramayana, on hearing Bharta's tender words, Kaushalya rose with renewed efforts and lifting him, clasped him to his bosom while tears streamed from her eyes. Sri Ramayana, glueless by nature, Mother Kaushalya pressed him to her bosom with utmost affection as though Sri Rama himself she had come. She then embraced Lakshmana, younger brother Shatrugna. Her heart was full of grief and love. Everyone who saw her loving disposition said Rama's mother had she is no wonder she should be so loving. The mother seated Bharata in her lap and wiping away his tears spoke to him the soothing words. I adjure you, my child, to compose yourself even now, knowing this to be the unpropitious time. Sorrow no more. Take not the hard the loss we have sustained, and feel no remorse for it, remembering that the course of the time and fate is unalterable. Do not blame anyone, my son. It is the providence that has turned hostile to me in every way, and when he makes me survive even under such trying circumstances, who know what may be his pleasure and regard to me even now. At his father behest, dear child, the hero of the Rudine discreted his ornaments and princely appearance and put on the hermit dress consisting of bark of trees without either sorrow or exclusion. With a cheerful countenance and without either joy or anger, he comforted all in every way and proceeded to the forest. Hearing the Sitas followed him and would not stay, devoted as she was. The Rama's sweet Lakshmana also, when he heard this, sprang up and accompanied them. He would not be left behind, even though the Lord of Raghu tired in the best to detain him. The Lord of the Raghu then bowed his head to all and departed with Sita and his younger brother Lakshmana. So Rama, Lakshmana and Sita left for the wood, where I neither accompanied them nor sent my soul after them, leaving my body here. All this happened before these eyes, and yet this rest soul did not take leave of the body. I am not ashamed of my love. To think that a son like Rama should have a mother like me. The king knew well how to live and how to die, whereas my heart is 100 times harder than adamant. Hearing Kaushalya, Bharata, and the whole Gane prevailed in the distance, the king palace seems a very abode of sorrow. Much agitated, the two brothers Bharata and Shatrugna loudly lamented, and Kaushalya clasped into her bosom. She comforted Bharata in many ways and tendered words of the wisdom to him. Bharata too, in his turns, consoled all his mother, narrating legends from the Puranas and Vedas. Joining both his palms, he addressed them in clueless, innocent, simple, and charming words. The sins attaching to the murder of one's mother's, father's, or son, and to the act of setting fire to the copan of the village of Brahmins, and those incurred by slaying the woman or child and by administering poison to a friend or a monarch, and all the major and the minor sins of thoughts, words, or deeds that have been enumerated by the seers, let all such sins be mine. If my mother this plot has my concurrence, may Providence award me the fate of those who, forsaking the feet of Shri Hari and Lord Shiva, worship frightful ghosts. If Mother, I have complicity in this plot. If mother, all this has by approval, let me share the terrible fate of those who sell the Vedas, exploit their piety, are given to the backbiting, expose other sins, who are deceitful, wicked, quarrelsome, and the irresponsible, who revise the Vedas and are hostile to the world, nay, who are greedy and lecherous and behave as a rapacious do, and who cast their eyes on others' wells and the others' wives. Nay, mother, if I even knew this secret, may Lord Shiva allot me the fate of those wretched who love not the company of the virtuous, who have rejected the path leading the God realization, who worship not Shri Hari, even though blessed with a human form, and take no delight in the glory of Shri Hari and the Lord Shiva, who have abandoned the path of the Vedas and follow the contrary way, and who are in impostors and deceive the world by assuming the false appearance. Hearing Bharta's truthful, artless, and sincere work, Mother Basha said, "You are my dear child, have always been beloved Rama in thoughts, words, and deed. Rama is dearer to you than your own life, and likewise you are the dearer the Lord of the Shiva, the Lord of the Raghu, than his own life. The moon may diffuse poison through her rays, and snow emits fire. May aquatic creature may shone water, and spiritual enlightenment may fail to eradicate error. But in no case will you turn hostile to Rama. Those in this world who allege this plot was contrived with your connivences shall never attain happiness or salvation even in a dream." So saying, Mother Kaushalya clasped Bharta to her bosoms. Milk began to flow from her breast, and her eyes filled with tears. In this way they sped away in the whole night, lamenting in profusions. The sage Vamadeva and Vashishta then came and summoned all the ministers and the elite of the city. Vashishta admonished Bharta in many ways, speaking to him words of the wisdom appropriate to the occasion. "Have courage in your heart, dear son, and do what the occasion demands." Today, hearing his preceptor command, Bharta rose and asked everything to be got ready. He had the king's body washed in accordance with the Vedic rites and caused a most splendid funeral pyre to be prepared to him. Clasping the feet of his mothers, Bharta prevented them from ascending the funeral pyre. They all stayed behind in the hope of the seeing Sri Rama. There arrived many loads of the sandalwoods and aloes and divers other excellent aromatic Sri Rama. Untold the pile was raised in a ascetic way on the bank of the Saryu river and looked like a lovely ladder reaching to the heaven. In this way, all the rites of the cremations were gone through, and then the funeral party bathed and due ceremony and offered a handful of water and sesame seed to the departed soul. After asserting the views of all Smriti texts, the Vedas and the Puranas, Bhartas performed the ceremony of the Sagrata Shri Ramayana. Whatever order the great sage Vashishta gave on a particular point, Bharta carried out all of them in the thousands ways. He bestows all sort of the gifts and attaining purity. He gave away cows, horses, elephants, and conveyance of the various sort. And even so, thrones, ornaments, and the costume, food, grains, lands, monies, and the houses, and the Brahmins had all their desire fulfilled on receiving them. Sri Ramayana. Whatever rites Bharta performed for the benefit of his fathers, in other words, were more than 100,000 tongues could recount. Then, after determining an auspicious date, the great sage Vashishta came and summoned all his ministers as well as the elite of the state. They all repaired to the council chambers and sat there. The two brothers Bharta and Shatrugna were also sent for. Vashishta seated Bharta by his side and spoke to him words full of wisdom and piety. First of all, the great sage repeated the whole story of Kaikeyi's doing and repaid this tribute to the vows of the piety and the truthfulness of the king Dasharatha, who remained true to his love even at the cost of his life. And as the great hermit spoke of the Sri Rama's virtue, amiability, and the kind dispositions, tears came to his eyes and a thrill ran through his body. Again, when he extolled the affection that Lakshmana and the Sita bore towards Rama, the enlightened Sikh was overpowered with grief and emotion. "Listen, Bharta, formidable is the fate. The Lord of Sikhs sorrowfully exclaimed, loss and gain, life and gain, glory and fame, all these lies in the hand of the Providence. Arguing thus, whom should we blame and with whom should we be angry without any cause? Ponder in your heart, my son, that King Dasharatha is no worth grieving for. Pitiable is the Brahman who is ignorant of the Vedas and who have abandoned his own duty and engrossed in the pleasure of senses. Pitiable is the king who has no knowledge of the polity and who does not love his people and his own life. Pitiable is the Vaishya, a member of a trading class who is neglectly through riches and who is not perfect in hospitality nor in devotion to the Lord Shiva. Pitiable is the Shudra, a member of the laboring artisan class who is disrespectful towards the Brahmins, like loquacious and the proud of his knowledge and love to be honored. Pitiable again is the woman who deceives her husband and crooked and quarrelsome and follow her own will. Pitiable is a religious student who breaks his vows and obey not the order of his percept. Shri Ramayana. Nay, pitiable is the householder, Shri Rama, who out of ignorance forsake the path. Shri Ramayana, Shri Ramayana, Shri Ram. Duty and pitiable is the recluse who is attached to the words and lack discretion and dissipation. Pitiable is the anchorite who had given up penis and developed a liking for the luxury. Pitiable is a backbiter who is angry without cause and an enemy of his own parents, perceptor and brother. Pitiable is in every way is who harm others, cherishes his own body, and exceedingly heartless and pitiable in every respect is he who is not sincerely devoted to Shri Hari. The Lord of Kaushala is not worth grieving for. His glory being manifested through all the 14 spheres. There never was, nor is, nor shall be having a monarch like your father Bharta, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, the Lord of Celestial, and the guardian of the god. All sing praises of the King Dashratha. Shri Ramayana. Tell me, dear child, who can glorify him who begot such pious sons as Rama, Lakshmana, Shatrugna, and yourself? The king was blessed in every way. It is no use mourning for him. Hearing and realizing his sorrow no more, and reverently obey the king's command. The king has bestowed the kingship on you. It behove you, therefore, to redeem the words of your father, who abandoned Rama for the sake of the world and quitted his body in his anguish of separation from Rama. The king did not love his own life as he did his words. Therefore, dear son, redeem your father's words, reverently obey the king's command. This will do you good in every way. Parshurama execute the command of his father and killed the own mother. The whole world will dear testimony to this act. Yati's son Peru exchanged his own youth for the old age of his father and incurred no sin or blame because he did so in the obedience of his father's command. Those who cherished in his heart father's word, minding not whether it is reasonable or otherwise, they attain happiness and fair renown and dwell in the abode of Indra, the Lord of immortals. Therefore, you need must redeem the king's word, cherish your subjects, and cease to grieve. The king is in heaven while will derive solace, while you will earn merits and the good fame and shall incur no blame. It is well known in the Vedas and has the sanction of all that the crown goes to him on whom the father bestow it. Therefore, root the kingdom, feel no remorse, and accept my advice as salutary. Rama and Videha's daughter will be gratified when they hear of it, and no wise man will call it wrong. Kaushalya and all the other mothers too will be happy in the happiness of the people. Nay, he who will know the supreme affinity between you and Rama will have perfect goodwill towards you. When Rama returns home, you may hand over the kingdom to him, serve him with ideal affection. The minister submitted with the joint point. You need must obey the order of your preceptor. When the Lord of Prabhu come back, you may do what you think fit then. Summoning correct caution, cellularity, my son, is your Guru's commands. The same should be respected and obeyed by your conceived to your good. Cease to grieving, realizing the destitutes of the Lord of Prabhu in it is in the forest, and King is in heaven, the abode of the God. While you, my son, are thus giving way to the faint heartedness, you, my child, are the only support of all, including your family, subjects, minister, and your mothers. Pursuing the antipathy of gods and the relentless of the fate, I adjure you by my life to have courage, reverently obey your Guru's commands, cherish your subjects, and relieve the affliction of your family. Bharta listened to the advice of his preceptor, and the minister appealed, endorsing the same, while where as the soothing of his heart as a center place. He further heard the mother's soft word imbued with the nectar of immunity, affection, and glewlessness. Bharta grew restless when he heard Mother Kaushalya's speech, imbued as it was with the nectar of sincerity. His lotus eyes shed tears that watered the fresh shoot of desolation in his heart. Those who saw this condition at this time forget their own existence. Everyone said Tulsidas reverently extol him as a perfection of artless. Joining his lotus palm, Bharta, who was foremost among the strong-minded, took courage and proceeded to give befitting replies to all the words, steeped as it were in the nectar. Sri Ramayana, Sri Ramayana. कहाँ ये दोनों? कौन सा टब? हम नहीं है, बाल्टी है ना? हाँ लाइट जला दो। ठीक है, ये वाला लैपटॉप में डाउनलोड मत करना उसमें गेम। इसमें कैसे डाउनलोड हुआ गेम? रोब्लॉक्स कहाँ से दिख रहा है उसमें? यहाँ कहाँ भी दिख रहा है, मुझे पता नहीं, लगता नहीं। कैसा सोचते हो क्या? तुम्हारे अलावा कोई है भी नहीं जिसपे तुम बोल पाओ, समझे कि ये इसमें डाला है। ये कहाँ से दिख रहा है? ये कैसे आया यहाँ पे? हाँ तो अपने रूम में जाओ, पहले सीधे जाओ रूम में। रूम में जाओ यदि स्विमिंग जाना है तो, नहीं तो नहीं जाने मिलेगा, समझ गए? डाउनलोड करो। सुनाई देता है उसमें प्रॉपर? हाँ, नहीं तो कान में लगाओ उसको।